Let's test out the connection. Let me check out my audio, see how we're looking, and we'll get things started. All right, I can hear myself in my app, so I think we're good to get started. So what's going on, everyone? Continuing our live series for our weekly vids. We're taking a look at round 20 this video and a recap of the past round, round 19. So yeah, let's take a look at how we did round 19. So round 19 ended on 101 points. So yeah, a much better improvement from the last round. So even though I did have a weak rank of 281, which is solid, my overall rank didn't increase too much. Still happy to see any increase each week. So let's take a look at the squad. So I did do an auto-roo last week, just because it's just a lot going on. And honestly, I didn't like a lot of defensive options. As you could see, I didn't do great defensively. But yeah, with early keeper-roo, I went with Romero. I'm sure a lot of us did. And yeah, I'd say that was a bit of a fail. So fallback was Cabral with Real Salt Lake. Also doubled up with Catranas, as he's sometimes an attacking threat. No luck there. Yeah, it's a bit of a flop there. Also, Thiago Martins lost the clean sheet as well with that unfortunate owned goal. So a few flops on defense. I did go with Orjano, which worked out for me. I think he had an assist that game. Looking at my bench, big fan of Zinkernagel. He's been doing very well these past few weeks. So yeah, 11, 13, 5, 10, 14. I'll talk about him a bit later in the video, but solid score from Zinkernagel this week, even though they were away. Suarez, I thought he would have had an extra 3 points from his assist, I think, for one of the Messi goals. Still, I'll take a 6, and I kept Surge on the bench, as, yeah, I wasn't too sure about how they would do against Philly. Yeah, looking at the rest of the squad, I switched my captain's armband to Messi when I saw he was starting, and I'm glad that I did. Yeah, just with, Miami and Montreal, you got to take that. That's why I also doubled up with Suarez, though he did only get me a 6. Heel with the 9, solid score. Evander with the 12, and Ojeda with the 9. Very happy to see that across the midfield. So yeah, I'd say it was a solid week. Bit disappointed with defense. Still may keep continuing to look to Wagner, as he's doing quite well. But yeah, that's how he did in round 19. So let's take a look over at our leagues. So Open League, see how everyone did. So Verks with 114, a lot of good, hundreds. Yeah, low hundreds, high hundreds, 90s, 80s. Feel like a lot of us were in the same boat captaining Messi. So, yeah. Honestly, not too bad of a week across the league. Verks still with a strong lead here, with Daniel's Dogs close behind. Hopping over to the head-to-head. Yeah, so still close finish. We got a lot of 16-0-3s, a few 17s, and still 1-18. Again, long season, anyone's league up for grabs. We'll do playoffs at the end of the league. So let's hop over to the schedule and just chat through some takeaways from the last round as we start to look into MLS Fantasy Round 20. So, yeah, I got to say, at least for my first takeaway, it was a tough one for clean sheets. The Galaxy here and DC United as well with Atlanta. Nashville, that was a strange game. I think a few folks had some Nashville guys, as it was a decent matchup against Philly's B squad. So yeah, clean sheets, few and far between. I would just continue to say focus on those attacking minded defenders. Your Wagners. I think Orjano's coming into some good form here as well. So just keep an eye out for those attack-minded defenders, as clean sheets are hard to come by. I do want to give a shout out to Pepiel from Charlotte. He was on my list this week, or past week, and he's continuing to impress. He got a 12 against Orlando. You expect some good points against Orlando's shaky defense. But yeah, I think that's someone that you definitely want to keep an eye on if the matchup looks right. Also want to say Surge's streak has come to an end. So he was on a solid run there for a while, but he only got a 3 this past round. Let's take a look at his full profile. Just to see that good form he was in. Goal, 3 goals, goal. Just look at all that. Solid scores all around. It had to come to an end. Yeah, so a bit disappointing there from Surge. Still keep an eye out. Honestly, Hani's score wasn't too great until that last minute PK. So I'll still keep an eye on those two, see if Hani does end up coming into some good form. And then finally, Messi is still Messi. He put up some crazy numbers, so I would just say continue to keep looking at Messi and Miami. They're back from their tournament. 19 points. It's a solid Messi week. And as I mentioned before, I just want to say, you don't want to sleep on Zinkernagel. Let me pull up my squad here. Let's see. Zinkernagel with 11 points with the goal. So solid key points, crosses, shots on goal. I think he's playing that attacking wing type of role. So yeah, keep looking at Zinkernagel. I think he may be the main guy that we want to look at from a fantasy standpoint from Chicago moving forward. All right, so those are my takeaways. Again, don't have the fancy production value, but key considerations coming up for next round. Also, don't mind the team here. This is my first draft. Okay, you saw them. I'll still post my, my lineup before games start this week. But yeah, it's a small double game week. Games start Wednesday. We've got New England versus Miami and LAFC versus Colorado. So you do want to target these teams pretty heavily. This is a shorter game week or a smaller game week compared to other game weeks, where every single team is on a DGW. So with these ones, a lot of us are going to probably have a lot of the same players, but I feel like the differentials this week may be those single game week players that you do take a look at, because honestly, I could fill out my team with all DGW players, but I think there's a few or a couple single game week guys that I like more than, for example, some of the midfielders on these double game week teams. I also want to call out that the Gold Cup has ended, so players are returning. Tough loss there for the U.S., but we went on a good run. And then, as always, check your player availability reports and disciplinary reports before the week starts. All right, so that's over with. Let's get started with my locks for the week. So these are the players that are locked in my lineup. Definitely not, subbing out, potentially looking at them for captains, all that type of stuff. So when it comes to defense this week, I'm not going to say any particular players. I would definitely say my back line. I'm probably going to do another auto Roo this week, so I have 2 scrubs in the back. It's just going to be all double game week defenders, because I'd rather take 2 games than just a shot at a single game week player and hoping for the best for a clean sheet. So yeah, I'll be looking at those defenders who are most likely to play the full 90 for each game. So probably an LAFC, probably a New England. The tough part is Miami. They just seem to rotate a lot in defense when it comes to the double game weeks. So I'll keep an eye on that. Midfield, though, is a bit more straightforward. Heel, definitely a lock for me this week. Same for Mihailovic, as it looked like he's not injured. He's getting his minutes in. Plenty of bonus points as well. Hopefully that goal contribution comes in this game week coming up. And then when it comes to forwards, I'm sure a lot of us are going to have the same 3 this week. Messi, Buanga, and Navarro. Most likely my locks. I don't know if I'll have all 3 starting or one of them on the bench for me with my auto Roo setup. But that's everyone who I'm looking at as sort of solid, players definitely in my lineup this week. As I said before, it's because they're great picks, and they're also on a double game week. So in these games, you definitely want to look at these 4 teams, or in these rounds, you want to look at these 4 teams beyond, even though there's maybe a really tasty matchup in the single game weeks teams, you really still want to keep looking at these guys just for the more chances for points, more time, all of that. All right, so clean sheet hunting. When it comes to keepers this week, I probably am just going to go straight out Hugo Lloris. They got a good, they're double home. They have a good matchup against Dallas, and I'm just not going to try to take the gamble. I think Miami's going to score against New England, and then I think I'm just going to take both games with Lloris, not worry about anything else there. Defense, I talked about. Really, just looking at those attacking upside defenders as well as those guys are most likely to play full 90. If you go with the center backs, maybe they'll get a couple of bonus points. You can end with 8 points for the round. So that's like best case scenario for those guys. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be too much variation for defense. I think Feingold's injured. I'm probably looking at a guy like Segura, Fofana. I'm not sure who I'm liking for Miami. I feel like they've been rotating Alba for these double game weeks. So yeah, we'll take a look. These type of double game weeks, I just recommend picking those players likely to get those bonus points. So yeah, not too exciting on defense this week, but let's hop into the final third. So attacking players that I'm looking at this week, getting started with our midfielders. As you can see, I've got the double game week check, so I'll just go through these players that I like the most. So outside of Heel and Mihailovic, I do like Segovia from Miami. So he's been getting some good points. He's also been getting some goal contributions. He had a very nice goal against Montreal last week. So really impressed with Segovia. Also Busquets, it's not a very fun pick as Busquets isn't a super exciting fantasy player. He gets your 4s, your 5s. He even got a 6 here with a couple assists. So if you do go with Busquets, I think it's a good option. It's a safe option, but he'll get you most likely the full 90 each game with some bonus points. He's like a Michael Bradley that used to be, the center defensive midfielder for Toronto. He was a safe look for double game weeks, but not too exciting. I also like Mark Delgado from LAFC. Double home, that I'm not a huge fan of the LAFC midfielders. And he's not too consistent. He's sort of a fallback option because he is still 9.3, not the cheapest. So that's why I was saying I do like some of those single game midfielders more than the double game. So let's hop over to some single game midfielders. So some of the guys that I like, as I said before, I like Zinkernagel. They are at home against San Diego. And as you guys have probably seen in the past few games for San Diego, they've been letting in plenty of goals. So I feel like this is a great opportunity for Zinkernagel this week to keep that good streak going. Same thing, Ojeda against a leaky Montreal side. Orlando has been scoring, and Ojeda gets involved. Evander as well. Good matchup at home against Cincinnati or Columbus. You got the Hellas Real Derby coming up. Love to see that. I'm just going to keep listing guys. BL, Charlotte against New York City. He's at home. And then who else have I got? Take your pick. Dreyer at home or away at Chicago. Chicago's not known for their defense. And then maybe another fun flyer is Hartl. So, yeah, I feel like this week I'll probably go with a couple of middies just because I like those chances. For example, if you look at the double game week midfielders, so let me hop over to them. Look at total points. So, guys, once you go through Heel and Mihailovic, you're looking at the guys that you're not normally looking at for fantasy. Delgado, Segovia, Busquets. Hop over to our non-double game weeks, and you see our heavy hitters. Evander, Ojeda, BL. Still not too set on Mukhtar this week. But yeah, you're spoiled for choice. Midfielders are just turning up, absolutely. So I'm definitely going to be looking at some single game week midfielders this week. And then when it comes to forwards, I think we'll all be looking at those double game week players. You've got Messi, Buwanga, Navajo, Suarez even, Allende, a fun shout. But if you're not looking at those three, you've also got Rossi. They are away. It's the Hellas Real Derby, though. Denke is at home. Again, Derby, and then Kuipers. I'm not going to go too in-depth. I feel like you're pretty set on the double game week strikers for this round. All right, so that's who I'm looking at from an attacking standpoint. Moving on to the we just talked final third. The clearance rack. So looking at those sort of budget options that are still decent looks for this week. So a fun shout, I think, is Awazium from Colorado. Apologies. So he's been getting some bonus points. They're playing some solid squads against LAFC and Vancouver, though he is only 6.6, so if you need a budget look at defense, I think he's a good shout. Same thing goes for Valencia. I'm not sure if he's going to go the full 90 in both games, but either way, look for those cheap LAFC defenders. Hollingshead, only a 5.8. You just want to look at those double game week defenders this week. At least that's what I'm looking at personally. And then when it comes to midfield, you've got, let's see, I'm looking at a couple. As I said before, these aren't the most fun picks. You could go for them, and hopefully they get you like 4 points each game. You got them with an 8, exciting. But it may be a better idea, or at least more fun, to pick some, midfielders that are on a single that have some good options. So one guy that I was looking at, let's see, let me just search for him here. San Diego. Valakari, he's getting those goal contributions. He's only 7.9. Good differential if he's starting. And they're playing Chicago, not known for the defense. So good look for a midfield budget pick. And a bit of a flyer here. Maybe I'm a bit too heavy or strong on the Galaxy here. Fagundes, only a 4 last week. I mean, not too impressive, but they are playing DC. I feel like maybe Paintsill, Fagundes, Royce, they're picking things up a little bit more. Royce looked better. I mean, then he got fantasy points last week, and then Paintsill with 16. So this game against DC could be a good option, and Fagundes only a 7.8. Speaking of, Paintsill, 7.5. Take a look at these guys. Could be some cheap options if you're looking for, a midfielder not on the DGW. And then when it comes to forwards as well, Gabriel Peck. Again, it's hard to tell who's going to hit from LA. I mean, not Cimento. He also got a goal. And then also for a double game week side, if we hop over to Miami, Allende. He's getting goal contributions as well. So, yeah, see what he's looking like if he's in that starting lineup. Allende could be a good look at only 7.5. All right, so finishing up with the armband. So who I'm looking at from a captain's pick. So, of course, Messi, definitely the number one look this week, especially after those numbers he put up. Buanga as well. And the good old Heel, Carles Heel. Heel had a solid week last week with a 9. I think he only had an assist, so solid bonus points from Heel. So I'm probably looking at Messi. If not Messi, I feel like Buanga and Heel are solid options. Buanga is known to go the full 90. All right, so that wraps up my picks for the week. Let's finish things off with our weekly poll. So yeah, the poll every week. Actually, let's look at last week. So thanks everyone for voting. Got about 34 votes in last week. And the question was Dreyer or Evander, who would get more points? And it was Evander. Evander, I think, doubled Dreyer's score. So, yeah. Usually look for similar, matchups. Both were at home, similar price point. And Evander really just showed up and had some absolute bangers for some goals there. And, yeah, love to see Evander getting back into that form. So this week's question, I've got it up on my YouTube. Go feel free to drop a vote. So who scores more points in MLS Fantasy Round 20? I've got the 2 heavy hitters for the midfield side on our double game weeks. So we got Heel, New England versus Miami, and then Austin versus New England, and then Mihailovic, LAFC versus Colorado, and then Colorado at home versus Vancouver. So you would think, from a form perspective, Heel definitely looking a lot better, and he's got some good matchups. My vote most likely for Heel this week, though Mihailovic can always, turn up randomly. As long as he gets those goal contributions, he's just been struggling in that front. He's been getting plenty of bonus points recently. So yeah, that wraps it up for me this week. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you had a good week last week in round 19. As I said before, I'll be doing these live streams moving forward, just a bit easier for me. Less editing, less time away from the little one. And yeah, as always, leave some comments. Always appreciate it. We're almost at 400 subscribers. So that's exciting as well. I think we're at like 399 right now. So yeah, great to see that. I'll quit rambling here. Thanks everyone for watching, and good luck in round 20.